We got a fun deep dive to talk about going back 50 years to the Best Picture nominated Dog Day Afternoon. This was a Zach pick. Zach, tell us all about Dog Day Afternoon and your experience with it.
All right, Dog Day Afternoon. Great movie, great Blu-ray. So I picked this movie really for a few reasons. First reason is a little incident that happened to me not too long ago. I'm going to go on a little story time rant here, okay? So in my spare time, I am a judge for what is called History Day. And History Day is a competition for middle and high schoolers, and you have to have basically presentations about history. And there's all these different categories. And so I am a judge, volunteer judge for the Kansas State History Day documentaries. I would never do any other category, okay? I don't like holding a red pen and grading. But documentaries, hey, it's kind of fun seeing what the kids come up with. So I was at the History Day regional round a few weeks ago, and there was a presentation, a documentary, a very well done documentary all about the Attica prison riot. And so it was really well done. You know, the girl did a great job. She used iMovie, lots of archival footage, very informative. 44 people died. The government was a huge cover-up, terrible circumstances, awful stuff. No mention of Dog Day Afternoon. So as a judge, I'm curious. I'm like, well, where's Dog Day Afternoon at this? I mean, Dog Day Afternoon, screaming Attica. And the girl is like, I don't know what you're talking about. What? Okay, now listen, she's Gen Z. Okay, she's Jen Ortega generation. I understand if maybe she's never heard of Dog Day Afternoon. But later on, when I conferred with my other judge, the other judge who is older than me also said, what is Dog Day Afternoon? I'm like, are you kidding me? Not only does this great presentation, this very historically detailed and accurate presentation that this high schooler did about Attica makes no mention of Dog Day Afternoon, but this other judge who's older has never even heard of the goddamn movie. So it was a chilling sort of proposition. Has this movie gone into cultural obsolescence? Do people know this can suck my dick? Well, John Gielgud was not in the movie, unfortunately. So obviously it's not as fondly remembered.
They don't got it.
The thing is, I think when people think about great Pacino movies today, they think of The Godfather, they think of Scarface, they think of Serpico, they think of Heat. No one talks about Dog Day Afternoon. So I was like, okay, I think it needs a reevaluation in its 50th year. Another reason I chose it was because we've done a couple of 2000 movies the last two times, and I'm kind of tired of talking about the year 2000. I was originally going to pick another 2000 movie that we'll discuss later on this year, but I was like, let's go back to the 70s. And then the third reason is that I don't think we've had a deep dive where there is a transgender character. And this movie does have a character who is right on the precipice of transitioning, getting gender affirmation surgery. That proves to be a major plot point in the movie. And it's a movie that, I think is heralded as a fairly progressive and well-rounded treatment of gay characters, LGBTQ plus characters. It doesn't necessarily make them into villains. It also doesn't rely on stereotypes. It's not necessarily a movie about their queerness, but it is an aspect of the movie. And of course, we're on the heels of a presidential election where most of the advertising money spent was on anti-trans bullshit propaganda. Okay. And we're on the heels of an Oscar campaign where a movie about a trans character was mocked. Now, I'm not saying that the people who didn't like the movie were transphobic, but I think that was kind of part and parcel a little bit of the feelings about the movie. Of course, the trans community didn't like the movie either, but I just think it's an interesting cultural debate. And it's an interesting cultural debate because obviously no one remembers this movie. So Dog Day Afternoon is a movie that I've seen. It's been a part of my life for a very long time. I saw it, I want to say, when I was in middle school. I want to say it was one of the first R-rated movies that I ever saw. Saw it on videotape. When I saw it before The Godfather, saw it before any other Pacino movie, and I remember when I saw it, that this was the best performance I'd ever seen in a movie. I mean, Al Pacino absolutely is captivating in the movie from start to finish. And what's cool about the movie, too, at least the first time you watch it, is you really don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it's based on a historical episode, but it's not necessarily the most famous historical episode. So I think especially why it would be appetizing to younger viewers today is they don't know how the story ends. And the story does go in some unique and unexpected ways. And then another reason, too, is that this is the movie upon which all other heist, hostage robbery movies are compared to. I mean, Inside Man, that was a Dog Day-esque movie. John Q, Dog Day-esque situation, The Place Beyond the Pines. Anytime you get a movie with hostages, it's inevitably compared to the I Ching of the hostage genre, the bank robbery genre, which is this fantastic movie. Now, Sidney Lumet, who died in 2011, what did you say? When did you say he died, Terry? Were you close?
2007. I forgot about Before the Devil Knows You're Dead.
Okay, so Sidney Lumet, great director. Really kind of varied career. All right, did a lot of different sort of story. Worked in TV to some extent. Movies about TV, which was the movie that came after this movie. But this movie also had quite a bit to say about TV. Known for being a great practitioner, big on rehearsals. He wrote a great book called Making Movies that if you ever want to be a filmmaker, you definitely should read. I think this is one of his two best movies. His other great movie is The Verdict. But he's made, one great movie after another. And this is a movie that I think absolutely captures this crazy incident, but also does it in a way that is a really cool character study of a complex protagonist. The movie is about LGBTQ characters, but what might even be even more progressive about the movie is the fact that you have essentially an anti-hero as the main character, which, even 10 years prior to 1975 really wouldn't have happened. So I think the movie holds up very well. It's not a perfect movie, and we'll maybe talk about ways that it's not a perfect movie, but it's a movie that I know deeply and I grew up with. In many ways, when my friends saw Fight Club and thought that was the greatest movie they'd ever seen, my Fight Club was like Dog Day Afternoon, okay? I wanted to hang the poster of Al Pacino in my room. I really loved this movie for a very long time. It had been a while since I've seen it. I'm glad to talk about it again. I feel like it was a must deep dive at some point this year.
So this was the second time I'd watched Dog Day Afternoon, was watching it for this. Zach just had a lengthy story. It's time for Terry story time now. So I've seen this twice now. The first time I watched this, I was in college. And one thing that Zach and me and several of our friends always did was at the end of every term, we would have a movie marathon where we'd watch 24 hours of movies. We'd start like at 7 or 8 o'clock on like Friday morning and finish at 7 or 8 o'clock Saturday morning. And Zach, in his infinite brilliance, decides at about 2 a.m., you know what? We need to watch Dog Day Afternoon. And so he throws it on and falls asleep 10 minutes later. And I stayed up and watched the thing because it was my movie marathon. I hadn't seen it yet. I'm like, I don't know why we're watching this one at 2 a.m., but okay, let's go with it. And I watched it. I remember liking it. I didn't remember much about it because I started it at 2 a.m. But after watching, at this point, like 15 hours of movies, 16 hours of movies, and Zach slept through it. So Zach forced us all to sit. Like, it was the buzzkill of the movie marathon. Like, during Dog Day Afternoon, either everybody left or fell asleep except for me.
Well, I have no recollection of this, obviously. But
obviously,
it was a great pick, much better than Stripes.
I mean, 2 a.m. is usually when you bust out like the comedy or the action movie that everyone's seen just to keep them going.
Yeah, but this movie,
Dog Day
takes
Afternoon
place at 2 a.m. in the morning. I mean, it's actually sort of perfect if you think about it, a movie that goes on all night interminably. And yeah, of course, it captures that was the reason why I did it, Terry. Obviously, there was a method behind the madness.
Obviously, nothing is ever, just spur of the moment and just reactionary with you. It's always well thought out. But I loved it then. I loved it now. It doesn't feel like a 70s movie. It feels like it's a 70s movie, but also feels ahead of its time too. Yeah, it's a great movie. Todd.
Yeah, I had seen it, I don't know, probably a little before Terry did, but I mean, I loved it right away. I was digging everything Sidney Lumet was doing at the time. I think Serpico is probably his best movie, and then obviously Network is great, and basically all of his movies are great. They're all different, and they all let actors have the room to do things they would never do otherwise. Like, that's what I love about Lumet movies, and this is no different. It is, you can feel the teeth of this in like a lot of like botched heist movies and stuff like that. And because I mean it's done so bare bones, and it's done in a way that makes something that's probably going to be inconsequential seem really consequential. And I don't know. I mean, what you're talking about, Zach, I don't know that it's really fair if someone's making a documentary about something to criticize them for not having a fictionalized version of something that was done later that references that event. I don't think that's really, I don't think that there really is, there's a through line there that really makes a whole lot of sense to criticize somebody with. It is weird that this doesn't have as much of a life as you would think. I mean, I don't know. I don't really talk to people about this movie either.
Well, Todd, Rafi from the league has heard of it.
Yes, Gattaca. But yeah, I mean, this movie it does seem like it's pretty easy to give to somebody, and they would be entertained by it, because it still is, even though it's about important subject and stuff. It does have a lot of elements of just like a really interesting crime drama. So I've always liked the movie. I think it was in my top 100 at one point.
Well, and Zach, like you said, it references something that is kind of a hot button topic now, but it was 50 years ago, and it doesn't reference it to try and take a stance on it or to politicize it in any way. It just is like, this is the reality of what's going on, and this is just some real people that are a part of all this, and this is what happened. And yeah, there's some comments, as there would be, especially in the 70s. But other than that, it's just like, here's a reality. The guy's getting the money so he can have his married partner get his sex change. Like, wait, what? Like, I don't care what era you're watching this in. You hear that and you go, hold on, back up a second here. What? We're doing what now? But it just is like, that's just the reality. And it never plays it for like, it never plays it to politicize. It never plays it to make a statement. It's just like, this is who these characters are. It's like, okay, and everyone else takes it exactly how they should. Okay, this is who these characters are. Let's see what's going on now.
Yeah, and there had been other movies that had, homosexual characters in them. I mean, The Boys in the Band is one example. And I mean, characters that were closeted or tragic gay characters. But in this movie, it's sort of a revelation midway through the movie that Sonny is bisexual and that he's married to both a woman and a man. And the movie, like you said, Terry, kind of just is sort of matter of fact. Like, it doesn't really make them tragic. It doesn't really make the characters into stereotypes or cliches or overly flamboyant or anything like that. Like, the conversation that Sonny and Leon have is a really, realistic conversation that probably a lot of couples would have when a member of a relationship does something extreme and is unhinged. Right, Sonny is quite unhinged in this movie, and the people that are around him are quite afraid of him. It kind of puts him into the sort of R.P. McMurphy, Travis Bickle type anti-hero from the 1970s, and I think he fits into that really nicely. And so you associate with him, maybe not so much for his sexual orientation or proclivities, but the fact that he's a guy who, is trying to do what he sees as the best for his life. He wants to help, Leon get gender affirmation surgery, but he also wants to pay for his wife and kids. And he's trying to, he has a line that he says he's trying to, handle a bunch of problems all at once, and no one is there to help him. The guy seems really overwhelmed. And what I like about the movie, and I look for this in other movies, I think this is why the movie was kind of foundational for me when I watched it, is, the movie starts in a very sort of like direct approach. This is not going to be a huge movie about a lot of different topics. It just stays in one fixed location with a very few set of characters. But then ultimately, as the movie goes along, it becomes very evident that this actually is a movie that is about class and about gender and sexual orientation and about the police brutality and the criminal justice system and about money in the United States and about the media. Like, Lumet and Frank Pearson, the screenwriter, they have bigger ideas. They can see that this isolated episode actually ties into a lot of broader ideas in the society in the 1970s that people were really thinking about. It's a great companion piece to Network. I mean, Sonny is not quite the Howard Rourke type character. I'm as mad as hell, and there's nothing I can do about it. Like, but it's not that far off from it either, and you can see the kind of interrelationship of those movies. And it's just a great performance by Pacino. I mean, this is a guy who, if it was a different actor, if it was a lesser actor, maybe with less conviction, you wouldn't buy into that role. But by the end of the movie, you're really invested in Sonny. I don't know if you always feel bad for him. I think he's a little manipulative at some levels. But again, a guy who's unhinged, a guy who's crazed, but in a way that you can sort of understand and is somewhat palatable.
Yeah, Pacino is brilliant in this movie. Man, if it wasn't for Cuckoo's Nest, he could have won his Oscar in '75, and we wouldn't have had to worry about it for Scent of a Woman.
He does have trouble getting his gun out of the box.
Well, yeah, and then that moment was improvised. So I know a lot about this movie. The Blu-ray has a lot of nice extra features on it. One of the unique things about this movie is just how much of it was improvised. The one Oscar that this movie did win was for screenplay, which is kind of curious because it was an original screenplay, even though clearly it was adapted from a news article. So again, some Oscar sort of category fraud even back in the 70s. But this is a movie that was very improvised. If you listen to Lumet's commentary or any sort of, again, retrospective on the movie, I mean, Attica was a line that was improvised. It was given to Pacino by one of the assistant directors. You're right, Todd. The gun not coming out of the packaging cleanly was improvised. A lot of the phone conversation between Sonny and Leon was largely improvised. And you can kind of tell, like, it's not necessarily polished dialogue. Even if you watch Network the year after, I mean, that's a Patty Chayefsky script. Like, that is scripted, the monologue. I mean, it's very much the product of one writer. This is a movie that feels very off the cuff, and it's the better for it. I mean, it's a movie that, there's some handheld shots in this movie. It's very clearly on location. It just feels like you're kind of in this environment, and it has a sort of naturalism that, again, was kind of becoming more prevalent in the 1970s, but it's a sort of naturalism that I really respond well to in movies. And I love how this movie, again, uses its real locations and uses some off-the-cuff dialogue to make its point realistic.
Yeah, I think you make some great points there. I would probably, talking Pacino's best performances, I mean, this has got to be like top 3 with the Godfather Part 2, Dog Day Afternoon, because it's after this that he starts to get into his Pacino mode. Like, what's his next great performance after Dog Day? Is it Injustice for All, which is a great performance, but this whole courtroom's out of order, and like that's when he gets into that whole bit. And from then on, it's Scarface, and I mean, he ends up
we get the Caliendo
winning for hoo-ha. Yeah, and so you get
my eyes see Oppenheimer. I'd say I've never been good at the
Oppenheimer.
Never been good at the. You know what I like about this Pacino performance? There's no hint of a Southern accent. It's all New York. I think when he started doing the Southern accent, was when he lost me as an actor. I lost a little bit of respect for him at that point.
It almost sounds like he's doing like Dustin Hoffman in Midnight Cowboy. Like, yeah, like he's got that kind of he's got that kind of that it's that high pitched, and yeah, it's different, but it works so well. All right, who'd Nicolas Cage play?
Oh, Moretti now. I mean, that's the kind of thing he does now.
Highest war performance act.
Well, obviously it's Pacino. I mean, we've talked about other actors that could play it, but there's no one else that could. I mean, maybe Dustin Hoffman could have done it. In fact, the original article references that John Wadowitz looks like Al Pacino mixed with Dustin Hoffman. But to me, it was low-hanging fruit. But I don't know. Pick a better one. I mean, this is. I would dare say this is one of the 5 highest war performances maybe of all time. Like, there's just no one else that could do it. Maybe it's just one of the 5 greatest performances of all time. I don't know, but you can't. This movie doesn't exist without Al Pacino.
I don't know. I think you could have slipped De Niro into there in 1975, and it'd be just as effective. You had such a golden era of actors who could pull stuff like that off at that time. And Pacino is a singular talent, but I feel like others could have done it. Now, that's why I'm picking John Cazale, because I think he was so unique in the persona that he portrayed on screen. Like you said, he's meant to be the muscle, but he's kind of wimpy. But you really aren't sure where he's at, like mentally. But at the same time, you kind of feel sorry for the guy. And I mean, no one can quite pull off the angry sad eyes quite like John Cazale. And I mean, other than Adam Driver, of course. But I think, of course, I think Cazale is an extremely high war when in all the movies he was in. Todd, what do you got?
Well, yeah, I mean, those are the two easy ones. Cazale is irreplaceable in every movie he does, so
Yeah.
that would be my number one pick. I guess I would say Chris Sarandon, though. I think he never really did anything like this again. Like he's did a bunch of horror movies. He was like a lead in Fright Night, and he did Child's Play and whatnot. He's an interesting actor who has had quite a career, but that has to be like one of the strangest movies to like break onto the scene for. And it's because like Jay Davidson or somebody like that never really did anything again because that kind of typecast him after that. And Chris Sarandon never did that because I think he's just like really genuinely great in his like couple of scenes he has.
So now Bill Paxton Memorial worst performance, and I go first on this one, and this was the easiest call of them all. The worst performance in this is by far John Marriott as Howard. From the moment the heist starts, I mean, the look on his face is just like, what is going on? And then when he collapses, I'm looking at the look on his face. I'm like, okay, what did he just realize he's acting in a scene with Pacino and pass out? I honestly don't know what is going through his head as he's got those wild eyes just staring at whatever is going on. And then you find out it's asthma. I'm like, that's not asthma. I know asthma. And you, sir, are no asthma. That he's horrible in this movie. And his best contribution to the movie is leaving quickly.
Ouch.
Todd, how about you?
He immediately he kind of looks like he's dying the same way like the DARPA chief dies in Metal Gear or something, you know, like I don't know. Although that wasn't the DARPA chief actually. It was like, the guy.
Howard, you got that crazy look in your eye.
Yeah, that's a good call. I said Gary Springer, who is like the original third guy.
Oh yeah.
What's his name?
Stevie,
yes. I mean, he's terrible as a partner and terrible in his performance. I don't know why they even included that in, and that must have actually happened. Or like that is kind of like a waste of like 2 minutes of having that guy on screen.
Stevie to me was a low-key nominee for highest war for me. It's such an insignificant role, but if I were to see that guy again in any other movie, because I don't think he actually acted a whole lot else. I think he became a talent agent, I want to say. But I would recognize him. I would be like, oh yeah, that was the third guy from Dog Day. My worst performance is Dick Anthony Williams as the limo driver at the end of the movie. Not because it's a bad performance, but he somehow tips off Sonny that he is a cop because of his bad acting. He's pretending to be, you know, this cool brother that, you know, oh, I'm going to tell my lady about this. She's not going to believe it. But Sonny sees right through it, and he's like, get out of my car, cop. And yeah, so bad acting. Not by
like 5 minutes later, he doesn't even have that uniform on anymore. He's just standing there in a suit, like next to the agents. He's like, "Yeah, I screwed up."
Yeah,
Todd, you're first on the minor character triumvirate: Amazing Larry, Big Tim High Roller, the Charlie Duke, Ticket Taker, Movie Maker, and the Matt Damon. What movie are you in?
Okay, my favorite minor character is the Pizza Boy, because this is where the movie becomes Airheads. It's like where he is so excited that he's on TV. He's the David Arquette. Is it David Arquette? Yeah, David Arquette role in Airheads, where he's just like oh yeah, I'm famous now, because it's all and all the cameras are clicking and that's the focus of everybody's around. Matt Damon, what movie are you in? I kind of think it's John Cazale. I mean, and it's not necessarily because he I don't think the character belongs because he was a real person, but he's like 40 years too old for that role apparently, and he just I think he's so calm that it's a little jarring when he's supposed to be like the killer. And my minor character who causes the movie to happen, I mean, I'll say whoever drove the armored truck that picked up the rest of the cash before they got there.
I was going to say that too.
All right, Zach.
All right. My minor character, let's see. I'm just gonna go. I'll go with. Gosh, there's a lot to choose from here. I like Sonny's father, played by Uncle Junior from The Sopranos. He doesn't have a lot of lines, but it had been a while since I'd seen this movie, and I forgot that Uncle Junior was the father. It's always nice to see Dominic Chianese show up in a movie, and I think it's pretty amazing that, like we were making fun of June Squibb, this guy was old enough in 1975 to be playing Al Pacino's father, and 30 years later was playing Tony Soprano's uncle. So long live Dominic Chianese. Can we get a Dominic Chianese, June Squibb love story? That would make a tremendous octogenarian movie at this point.
You can make a love triangle with the Brazilian lady.
What movie are you in? I went for a special nomination for this one, which is the fact that Sonny's wife is walking her kids out of A Star Is Born at the beginning of the movie. But it's not the Barbra Streisand Star Is Born, which Frank Pearson actually directed. What is A Star Is Born doing playing in Brooklyn on a random day in 1972? Matt Damon, what movie are you in? What is A Star Is Born doing there? And then the ticket taker movie maker, obviously, is the armored truck. I would also say, though, that the person at the bank who tipped Sonny off about the armored truck picking up the money, which I think is a slightly separate character potentially, is obviously a movie taker, because otherwise Sonny never would have shown up at the bank at that time.
My Amazing Larry is the limo driver. He also could be What Movie Are You In? But he's just like, when he pops up, it's just a breath of fresh air. And I don't know if he did anything. I think it was just Sonny's paranoia that really tipped him off. And like, no, you want me to have, you wanted me. It's like he's thinking through this. Is like, you asked me, you told me I have to have him, so I would want him, and now you knew I'd want him, so that means I want the other guy. At least I know what I'm dealing with him. But yeah, he's a blast. Matt Damon, what movie are you in? I'm going Maria's Boyfriend, because like when he comes out of nowhere and just like, you know, just lays out Sonny, it's like, wait, what? Where did that come from? So that's a what movie are you in? And all right, Charlie Duke, ticket taker, movie maker. Yeah, you guys stole the good ones. You could say Leon.
Yeah, I have one more for that one. I'll give it to you.
The other one I'm gonna say is Ho Chi Minh, for because the Vietnam War. I think there's got to be some PTSD for those two being Vietnam War vets. That might be playing a role into what's happening in that bank there.
Was that real? I always thought that line was him just like talking shit.
I don't know. It felt considering their age and the time frame, that seems totally legit.
I was going to say another ticket taker movie maker is Leon's psychiatrist, who says that he's secretly a woman in a man's body. Without the psychiatrist telling Leon that, then there might not be a need for the gender affirmation surgery. So
it's true.
There's that.
True. All right, Zach. Tripod of depravity, stickman, douchebag, and most punchable face.
Okay, well, the stickman in the movie is the dirty caller. The guy who's like, kill them all, take your bayonet and stab them. And then, you know, the ladies like to hear that. I like that guy. He's cool. Maybe he's played by Philip Seymour Hoffman in Happiness. I don't know. Todd got that reference. The douchebag in the movie is Jenny's husband, because Carol Kane's husband, because he's unable apparently to cook by himself. And he wants to know when the hostage taking will be done, presumably so that Carol Kane can cook dinner for him. That's a douchey thing to do. That's like a Skeet Ulrich or no, what's the guy from Night Bitch, Terry, that won the douchebag award.
Scoot McNairy.
He usually plays
it's totally a Scoot move.
A Scoot move. He wants to know when dinner is going to be ready. Okay, and then punchable face in the movie. There's not that many punchable faces. I don't know. Do you guys have a good one? I don't have a good punchable face. They're all too like.
I've got a decent one.
Okay.
So my punchable face, I went with Sheldon, played by James Broderick, the FBI
Okay.
Matthew
deputy.
Broderick's dad.
Yeah, I went with him because the whole time he feels like the Breakfast Club principal in Die Hard, as Reginald Vell Johnson is on the radio. It's like, no, I know this guy, man. I know him. It's like, no, let us take over. Oh, I think we're gonna need some more FBI guys. And just it feels like the incompetent fool taking the reins away from the guy who actually has the in at the moment. So I put him as punchable face. My douchebag is Stevie.
He probably could have been that role at that time too.
Yeah, my douchebag is Stevie. For bailing like 5 seconds into the robbery. Like, well, come on, man, come on, just don't do it. However, he does kind of save the day a little bit. There's a girl under the desk over there. And my stick man, I've got two stick men. I've got Murphy, played by Lance Henriksen, who's another one of those faces you just see and like, I know that face, and I couldn't figure out from what.
He's the old man. He's the old version of the Armpit Girl.
Yeah, that's one of them. But he's in a bunch of stuff. Anyways, he's just so calm and cool, sitting there driving that thing around. I'm like, he's one of those guys that he's gonna go home and sit with a glass of whiskey and enjoy the company of his wife. It reminds me of the end of Clue the movie, when Mr. Green, played by Michael McKean's like, I'm gonna go home and have sex with my wife. That's what I think of when I see him. And the other one, Mulvaney. Mulvaney's way too cool under pressure. Like he's got some prowess, I think.
He's doing a George C. Scott pretty much throughout the movie. Yeah. So and George C. Scott in Doctor Strangelove, stickman.
Like Mulvaney could have easily been like this like pushover, like nervous in the service type of deal, but he's more like I'm all right, yeah, do what you gotta do.
Oh, I was thinking Moretti, not Mulvaney.
No, I'm thinking Mulvaney. I'll just sit here with the gun pointed at my head. You're fine. Just tell me when you're done. So, Todd.
Stickman, I wrote down doctor. I don't remember the character, but he's a doctor. So.
Oh, that's a great call. He looked like he came right off the set of General Hospital and into Dog Day Afternoon.
All right, I tried to look up a picture while you were talking and I couldn't figure it out, so apparently it's a good pick. Douchebag, I wrote Sam, the nosy asshole. I think that's the guy who works at the insurance place that comes and knocks on the window.
Oh yeah, good call. Yeah.
Well,
he could be a ticket taker,
but he doesn't actually call anybody. I don't think. I don't know. I guess it's unclear who actually calls cops. And punchable face, I wrote down Agent Murphy. Yeah, I mean he shoots a guy in the head. That's never good. And it's weird. Like you were talking about the guy who bails right off the bat. Like I was thinking a lot about Alpha Dog when I was watching this movie this time, because like there's a lot of parallels between that movie and this movie too. Like you got the soulless gunman is the Sean Hattie character, and you got the guy who runs away right away is Christopher Marquette, and you got the I don't know, they're the emotional core one is the Justin Timberlake character. I don't know. There's a lot of parallels, and I think they probably had some of the tone of that. And it's a similar, like, based on a true story, but not actually the whole true story kind of thing. I guess that's more conspiracy theory.
Best scene is next, and I'm next for that. And for best scene, I've got two written down. I'm gonna go with when the robbery starts, like and this is what made me think of Ben Stiller for the role. The robbery starting, it feels like a bumbling idiot. Like it feels like it's about to be a slapstick comedy of how many things go wrong to start this robbery. Like he can't get the thing out of the box. The second he starts pointing his gun at people, the third guy runs out the door.
Yeah. The door, it's called a hatch. They couldn't get that open, and a lot of things didn't go right.
He had his spray can of paint, but then he didn't think about how high up the cameras were going to be. So he's got to try and find a chair to stand on to get to him. And like, dude, what else
so
could
the guy
go
who
wrong
runs
in the
off,
first
he's like,
30 seconds?
he's got to be like, you need to take a bus. He's like, no, but I have the car. It's like, we need the car.
Take the subway.
Yeah,
Evie.
give me the key.
Give me the keys.
And then he tries to burn the traveler's checks or the register. Like I've seen this movie like 30 times. I've never understood why he burns that.
No one can track how much money he took.
I guess, but like he took what difference does it make? He's gonna presumably run off, abscond with the money. Like, does that really? It seems to take up some precious time. It seems like they were actually kind of somewhat close to getting away, but burning the book like he does, and then the whole we're all gonna have to go to the bathroom. That's what really kind of does them in. That's what takes up the most amount of time. Sonny should have been more of a douchebag and said no bathroom breaks. Learn from Terry. You know this. Don't give him. You can't give him bathroom breaks. That is just the worst thing to do. They have young bladders. They can hold it. Okay. You start giving one of them a bathroom break, then they all want a bathroom break. All right. Learn from teachers, Sonny.
There's some dangers to holding it though, as according to Liar Liar, and that's a smart movie. Who called? Like how did the cops show up?
That is a good
was
question.
I
don't think it's ever clear. It's never made.
It isn't.
That
like
was in the bathroom, maybe.
Did they
Maria?
But how a girl in the bathroom contact anybody though? There's no cell phones at the time.
I know, but she could have switched at some point. I don't know how that.
There's an alarm in the bathroom.
So in real life,
I don't know.
The real life Stevie ran off because he saw a police car. So in real life, there was a cop nearby that they just, I guess, didn't see, and only Stevie saw.
Okay.
But obviously, the movie never really explains that. But I don't know.
So a cop watched the whole thing happen, is what you're saying?
Yeah, or there was
there was a problem
nearby. Yes.
I like the scene where Sonny is on TV and then he realizes that he's getting interviewed by the guy on TV. That's just a really interesting scene to to write and to come up with that idea, to have him be watching himself be interviewed on TV while he's robbing a bank. So it's just a brilliant idea.
Yeah, there's no wrong answer really. Although I will say, I think the first half of this movie is a little better than the second half. It's the half that I'm more familiar with. It's a little more action packed. I like the scene where he first says Attica. The first confrontation really with Mulvaney, when Mulvaney's saying, "Quit while you're ahead," and Pacino's like, "Kiss me. I like to be kissed when I'm getting fucked. You got me on armed robbery. It's a federal offense." You know, I like really any scene where Pacino is telling people how it is. You know, whether he's telling the newscaster, "Well, you got to get a new union job." Well, you know how much a non-union bank teller makes? Tell $115 a week. I like when he's talking about how no, that's decoy money. It's bullshit. You know, I love him explaining things. Any scene where Pacino explains something, but particular the scene where he starts riling up the crowd with Attica is maybe the most famous scene in the movie, and it still works every time.
The other one I had written down is his phone calls, whether it's with Leon or with his wife. The one with his wife, I found fascinating, like that, because that's so telling into how he ended up where he is. Just him trying to, like, he wants to say one last thing to his wife, and he gets her on the phone, and he has to hang up because she won't stop telling him what to do. and it's like I can't. It's over. And like I understand why you are where you are. Any flaws, any outdated, any conspiracy theories, any last comments you have that haven't said yet that you want to throw out there?
Well, I like one of my favorite lines, I guess underrated line or whatever, is "Oh, they poisoned the pizza." maybe that's a Regal line.
Well, the Regal line is definitely Attica.
Yeah.
They poison the pizza. Which points to his paranoia, for sure.
Yeah.
But he says it like, "Oh, to combat Carl." You know, he's like, "Oh, they poisoned the pizza."
Do you think there were actually hamburgers on the plane?
No.
Probably not.
No.
I thought it was interesting that pizza seem more realistic. Burgers, that feels like more of a
first thing that popped into his head. It was just like at that point he could have said caviar on the plane.
Yeah, we grilled you burgers and put them on the plane. Oh.
Picked up some McDonald's on the way to the airport. Yeah. All right, Zach, do you have anything?
Just a couple things. Would this robbery had gone smoother if Sonny and Fredo tried to rob a bank together? Because now I don't think that's an obvious answer, because I think Sonny and Fredo might have shot each other in the process. I think there would have been a high degree of dysfunction.
Fredo would have been Stevie.
Oh, that's a fair point.
And
Sonny
I mean,
would have been Sonny would have been James Caan.
Well, yeah, though if Sonny was played by actual Sonny Corleone, then the second there were guns pointed at him outside, he would have taken his machine gun and just gone town, see how many he could take out with him. Yeah. I like that idea. Recast this not with the Godfather actors, but the characters. That would have been interesting.
I also think that flying to Wyoming might have actually been a better idea than flying to Algeria, because for one thing, it's a shorter flight. Another thing, there's probably lots of places to hide in Wyoming, probably even more so than in Algeria, where there's just desert. And Wyoming's definitely more scenic. So I think Sal had the right idea all along.
LVP, MVP, and then we'll wrap this thing up. Zach, go first. LVP, MVP.
All right, my MVP of the movie, just because really we haven't mentioned this yet, is Elton John, and gay men everywhere. But Elton John, Amarina, that's a great song in this movie, and I love the opening sequence of this movie. It doesn't have anything to do with the rest of the movie, and yet it feels like it needs to belong in the movie. It's kind of perfect. LVP of the movie, I would say let's go with. I had something written down for this. It was a really good one too, but I can't really remember. Let's go with defrocked priests.
Just the word defrocked, I think.
I like that. Yeah, defrocked
Deserves mention by this board. Mm-hmm. Yeah. My LVP is Sal. I think this whole thing changes and turns just with his declaration of I'm not going back to prison. When was Sal in prison? Like, that's a whole nother story that we don't know. I mean, we know he's not a homosexual, but we don't know why he went to prison.
See, that's why he went to Vietnam.
Are we sure he's not a homosexual? Because he could just be closeted. We don't know that for a fact.
Well, he's still looking out for his stickman game. He's just like, I don't want them thinking I'm a homosexual. Like, they got to change that. They got to come out and say they changed.
What if that gets back to Wyoming? I mean,
so Sal goes to Wyoming and goes on Brokeback Mountain. Maybe that's the sequel.
He's my LVP. My MVP is Moretti. I think Moretti is kind of in that thankless position, but does the best he can with it. I was telling Todd this earlier. Whenever I see Charles Durning, the first thing I think of is "Oh brother, where art thou?" and him yelling at his sons, "You some bitch."
What's the first Charles Durning movie you think of, Todd? And then I'll give my answer. When you see Charles Durning, what movie do you think of?
See, I don't even have one that comes to. I mean, it's probably Dog Day Afternoon. I've seen it enough times that it's probably.
I know what Zach's gonna say. Zach's gonna say Tootsie.
Well, that, or I was gonna say Home for the Holidays, where he has Robert Downey Jr. as his gay son, and he congratulates Robert Downey Jr. on his gay wedding, which is very much taken out of Dog Day Afternoon. But yes, Tootsie would be a very clear pick as well.
Anyways, I love Moretti in this. I think he's.
I'd flip flop those. I think Moretti should be LVP and Sal should be MVP.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I think Moretti takes control of the situation and chills Moretti's the whole vibe really early.
Moretti's incompetent. He gets thrown off the case by the FBI. They remove Moretti. He leaves the movie. Sal, all the girls at the end of the movie cry for Sal. No one gives a shit that Sonny gets arrested. They don't even look back at him. But for Sal, like there's a genuine sympathy when Sal dies. That's so. I think Sal's.
But Sal's the one that wanted to go out guns blazing. Moretti, I see Moretti as Reginald Vell Johnson in Die Hard. He's the guy who has a handle on everything.
There are some real Die Hard parallels in this movie. There's also some Speed parallels. I thought Howard maybe is the father of Sam, the bus driver in Speed. I think they are basically the same character. One with asthma, the other gets shot. But there's some parallels.
LVP, Maria's boyfriend. just because
Yeah,
he comes out of nowhere. It's not even really a tackle; it's more like a shove. I don't really know what his plan was. It's
Played
sort
by
of like the streaker at the Oscars. It's like, well, I don't know what he was really doing there, but
Choo
it's
Malave, the actor's name.
yeah. And my MVP is Philip Leto. He's the hairdresser on the movie because I think that the hairdos in this are amazing. Like Sonny has some fantastic sweaty weird hair, and obviously John Cazale always has great hair. But I don't think we've ever shouted out the hairdresser, but Philip Leto,
the lady
I
with the afro, yeah, that's a great pick.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
thank you. He also
All
did
right.
the looked like he did Driving Miss Daisy hair on that too, but I never nominated for an Oscar. So Philip Leto.
All right, well, let's wrap this up with our quote of the day. And I'll go first. I have a quote from this movie that I think sums up every episode of this podcast. It comes from one of the hostages at one point, and I don't remember which one, but she says it to the rest of the hostages and says, "I'm a Christian. My ears are not garbage cans." And that's what I feel listening to the podcast. It's such a waste of. My ears are not garbage cans.